Hey, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome to Rockin' the Valley's Cyber Speakeasy, your source for music, conversation, and cocktails. The password is virtual togetherness. My name is Mike. I am Not For Coltrane. Thank you so much for joining us here on this lovely, chilly evening, but not terribly, not too bitterly cold. But I do hope that you have something warm and wonderful in your glass or in your mug to keep you in good spirits this evening. And speaking of good spirits as well as warm and wonderful, I have here with me a couple of delightful individuals. We've got Leon Bonam down there at the bottom of the screen with the Santa hat, and that's that side. There's Janene Otten. Hey, if you two could unmute yourself, let's talk about what we're drinking.
Hey, what's up?
How's it going? Ooh, that's a lot. Okay. So, Janene, I know. Whoop, we just lost the big iPad. Okay,
Oh,
there he is. There's Leon. Janene, what do you have in your glass?
this is a variation of Frosty's Party. I put this on the internet, but
Okay.
recipe on a cocktail napkin that a friend gave me. Basically, this says 1 part vanilla vodka, 1 part chocolate liqueur, 1 part Irish cream, splash of cream, garnish of white and dark chocolate shavings, of which I have brought lint, truffles, peppermint truffles.
Wow.
So sugar high and drunk. So it's great.
So you're all set. And
Yeah,
what's
I did
what's it called again?
Frosty's Party. I did a
Frosty's
little
Party.
variation.
All right.
I used a little Smirnoff peppermint vodka with Kahlua has a peppermint mocha also. So I did a little
Oh,
very. So cheers.
cheers. It sounds very fancy. Leon, what do you have?
Cheers. Let's just call it tea.
Anything about it? Like, is it like an Earl Grey? Is it decaf? Is it what do you got?
Uh, Strawberry lemonade.
Well, that's pretty cool. So is it a hot tea or is it a cold tea?
Well, it's cold right now.
Okay.
What?
I
Yes.
I haven't tried to heat it up yet.
I see. When was it brewed? Or was it, did you
Probably
brew it
about two
yourself, or it
weeks
was
ago.
it was so it was you bought it pre-brewed is what you're indicating?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Well, there you go. So you see, we're learning. We're making a connection. We're having an understanding. This is also a tea-based drink, which I did brew myself. Although the tea was nothing particularly fancy, just whatever's on the shelf at the supermarket. Um, the recipe I found described it as a non-alcoholic hot toddy. I think that was probably generous because it's basically just tea with lemon and honey and some spices. Seeing as that there's none of the alcoholic part in the hot toddy. I think I was a little heavy-handed with the cloves, but man, does it smell good. Could use a little bit more honey, but yeah, it's not bad. For the folks who are out there watching at home, please let us know in the comments what you are imbibing and enjoying in your glass this evening, and cheers to all of you too. Thanks, everybody. Ah,
Skull.
Cheers.
yeah, cheers. Okay. I think I can refine this recipe a little bit, but I can see why they call this a singer's drink. It's gonna clear out the sinuses. We'll be good to go. All right, so we have and actually here before we get started too much with, because I will put up each of you individually so I can talk with each of you one on one, but it also occurs to me both of you are when there is, and it's safe for us to have a Lehigh Valley open mic scene. Both of you are very active in those kinds of communities. I'm wondering if the two of you have ever run into each other before, perhaps at Godfrey Daniels or something else like that.
I feel perhaps you look a little familiar, but I don't think so. Maybe once or twice, but
Possibly. What do you think, Leon? Do you recognize Janene from perhaps your paths having crossed before?
The name's familiar, but other than where would we? Godfrey Daniels, maybe?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, the only other group, well, I sing in the Lehigh Valley Chorale. Godfrey Daniels, I guess I've played gigs here and there, but I just have a duo, and I've played Porch Fest and Easton Wine Project and a couple of other places. Those are the only places I would probably run into you, yeah.
All right. So, well then, Janene, this is Leon. Leon, this is Janene. We're making a connection this evening. I'm going
Yeah.
to, yeah, I'll put the camera up on Leon if this works. Nope, that's Janene, which is also wonderful, but I need to talk to Leon at the moment. So I'm going to, there we are, there's Leon. And Leon, actually, if you could do me a favor, I don't know if it's possible, but if you could angle or scoot the big iPad down just a little bit so that we can see a little bit more of your smiling face and not quite as much of your ceiling.
That could be. That could be.
You know what?
Difficult.
That's fine. We'll just let it go at that. And by the way, I don't think I've commented on
the ceiling looks better than the rest of it.
Well, you know, your hat, by the way, is wonderful and festive, and I need to compliment you on that as well. I don't think I've said that just yet.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So, Leon, you and I'm quite certain that you and I first met at Godfrey Daniels, where you've been, you've over the years have done various things over there, helped out with the open mic for quite a few years. But I know that you're also very involved with, just last week, you're saying, oh, hey, you know, I've got another thing this Thursday. I'm going out and checking out this other jam. What are some of the places that people might have encountered you, bands that you're in or bands that you've been in? Where would people know you from?
Oi.
Or, you know, a few of them. Because I mean, we could start with the Acoustic Blues Project, because that's obviously one of the big ones.
Yeah, if they went up to Bushstock this year, or any of the previous 3 years, they would have seen us there on Sunday.
Acoustic Blues Project, we should say, is you on bass primarily, and on also doing vocals, along with our friends Tom Cooney, who also has a show here in Rockin' the Valley, and Earl Andrews on the harmonica.
Yeah,
great.
I know Earl can sing, but he doesn't really want to.
I was gonna say, I don't think I've ever heard Earl sing.
Yeah, well, he's a child of the folk generation, so.
All right, I'm going to ask you to unpack that. What do you mean by that? The fact, what does him not being interested in singing have to do with being a child of the folk generation?
Oh, no. What that means is he grew up with guitars and vocals.
Got it.
You know,
the family or your friends all
Peter,
sitting around
Paul,
with
and
it. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, well, that makes sense.
That's what I'm saying. I know he plays guitar. I have heard him sing. He prefers not to, so
fair enough.
That's okay with me.
That is okay. And so what are some of the, because I know that you are a regular at more than a few, or certainly over the years have been a regular at more than a few open jams. What are some of the open jams that you've been to? Even which ones are still happening that you're able to go out and partake in these days?
Well, there's actually the Little Red Rooster boys are keeping a jam going down in Doylestown at the Via Capri pizza restaurant. They do a lot of stuff besides pizza.
Okay.
One of my favorites is you got this thing they call the Big Meatball. It is a big meatball.
What it says on the tin. Yeah, that's what's...
Yeah. A little while back, earlier this year, whatever, it was about the size of a baseball. Yeah.
So
the last time I was there, it has grown to the size of a softball.
Uh-huh.
So you get more for your money.
I guess so. So,
And
just to be clear, like this isn't like a decor thing that people just keep adding meat to over time. This is an item on the menu that is, I presume, delicious and probably very filling. That's on the menu there. And you say
all of the
yes, excellent.
yeah, and then what can I say? There was a jam down in Hatboro that stopped, then started up, and now it stopped again. And so we'll wait to see if that goes on. And I'll go as far as like the Oranges in New Jersey.
Wow. I've
been west almost to Harrisburg, for a jam.
Because
where I haven't been
go ahead.
is north. I got to get up into the Poconos a bit more and see what's going on up there.
Sure.
Oh, one of our favorite little places. We got some friends, including Jack Culp. He's a harmonica player. And they're connected with a little place called Hope and Coffee.
Okay.
If you look up Hope and Coffee, you should be able to find it, because for the life of me, that's one of those little towns. I know where it is. I can get there, but I can't remember the name. But they've got this nice thing going. There's a couple of vids of us up on the web from the front porch of Hope and Coffee in the spring.
That's on the Acoustic Blues Project YouTube then?
Yeah, there should be some there.
Yeah, okay. Cool. So what is it now, if you're, for an evening, you're going to get off of work, you're going to get in the car, you're going to drive for 30, 45, 60, 70, 80 minutes to get to a jam. And especially for folks who might be watching who may not be familiar or haven't gotten to any jams like that, how does the jam work? First off, just sort of the basics. How does the jam work? And then what makes it so special that it's something that, it's such a powerful draw for you?
Well, hosts help a lot. I know I know folks who run jams, but they really shouldn't. And I know other folks that run jams and it's like water, shedding off of their back or whatever. It just goes.
And some of it too is that with the people who are really good at it make it look really easy, but there is a lot of skill and experience that goes into making it look that easy.
Well, I had some folks tell me back in the day, I used to pretty regularly host the open mic at Godfrey Daniels. Mm-hmm. And there were some folks that, okay, I think we'll do it. So they signed up. And, the week after, they said, how do you do it? It works. But a lot of it is simply, for me, to get out of the area and meet new folks.
Yeah, sure.
If you go to the Oranges in New Jersey, you're not normally going to meet people from Allentown and Bethlehem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing if you go down to Doylestown or Hatboro. You're gonna run into a whole different group of people.
Right. It's an entirely different community, essentially, in those spaces. Yeah.
So for me, it's getting out and seeing who else is out there and what else is out there.
That makes sense. And so when we're talking about a jam, so because there is I think it depends a little bit on the host too, but there's sort of a difference between an open mic and an open jam, where typically, and tell me if this matches your experience, because I think you probably have more experience with open jams than I do. An open mic, typically someone is going to, or someone or a duo or a small group or whatever is going to come and play their own thing. So they'll be up in front of the room by themselves and they'll do their piece. And there's a strong community aspect with that. An open jam is everybody comes together in the same space and a bunch of people are playing at the same time who may never have played together, or some of them, if you've been to that jam before, then some of the other people, and so you've had that experience together. How does it even work in terms of, well, I'm sure it depends on the jam, but what's your favorite way for someone calling out a song and saying, hey, this is how we're all going to, this is where we're all headed? How does that work?
Well, once again, there's folks who kind of know how it should be done, and folks who, but
well, tell us how it should be done.
Speaking, most of the jams I go to now, there's jams that will go all kinds of ways.
Sure.
If you go down to the Raven's Nest, you can end up playing anything from jazz to country to funk to punk, because there's people there who know all of those different things, and they can get together and they'll come together. Somebody will say, well, let's try this, and somebody will say, yeah, okay. Blues jams, most of the time, there's a lot of like standards in the blues. So
sure.
It's mostly what you do. You get together, decide who's doing the vocal.
Okay.
And you come up with a key.
Right.
And you go from there.
Yeah.
You get the drummer, hey, I want a flat tire shuffle, or we're going to be doing swing here, or whatever. And me, a lot of times I'll give them a key, I'll tell them what the song is, and then I'll start and I'll give them some idea of what the rhythm's going to be like, because I like a lot of syncopation.
Mm-hmm.
So, we'll be doing like I'm doing a lot of like second line stuff right now.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. New Orleans second line. Yeah.
So I like just to mix it up. Second line is in 4. So you're not really throwing people by doing a second.
Right.
It's just that, now they can diddle with the rhythm a little more if they want to.
Sure. And I see also what you mean that, so I mean, just to compare a blues, say, with something from second line, blues is usually 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just, it's pretty straightforward. The embellishment is on top of that, but that there's some cool rhythmic things going on with second line where either the bass or the drums or the both of them together have some offbeats and some syncopated stuff going on there. That's a much more complex kind of rhythm than you typically would hear with a blues song. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah. Well, what you might get is something like 1 and 2, 3 and 4.
Yeah. Yeah. And absolutely, people should also go look up New Orleans second line music. I had actually, come to think of it, Leon, have you ever crossed paths with Jeremy Joseph and the Big Easy Eastern Brass?
Not.
You definitely should look. Go ahead,
Paul.
You should look up the Big Easy Eastern Brass, because they are a lot of fun. And I had Jeremy Joseph, one of the band's founders, on a couple months ago. We were talking about the things they do over that. But so yeah, their whole band is it's all volunteer, all ages, all skill levels, doing New Orleans second line music here in Lehigh Valley, which is pretty cool. So yeah. I think you'd really enjoy it.
And you know what the second line is?
I know a little bit. Enlighten us for folks who may not be as familiar.
Okay. Basically, New Orleans Funeral. The first line is the line or the parade to the grave.
Right.
And that's very slow, solemn, dirgy.
Mm-hmm.
Once you get them in the ground, now it's time to celebrate their life.
Right.
So the second line is a line going back from the grave to the wake or whatever.
Right.
And that gets to be a little more lively.
Yeah,
That's when you see ladies pumping the umbrellas up and down and waving the handkerchiefs.
Yep.
And you got your sousaphone. New Orleans, you don't see that much. Well, especially not, you can't carry one in a parade.
Right.
You can't carry an upright bass.
Yes, that's true.
So what you get going is a sousaphone or a tuba.
Right.
And I let that kind of sound, if you listen carefully to me when I'm playing bass in a lot of things, I'm trying to sound like a sousaphone.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That's great. That's very cool. And I should also mention that you are a bit of a multi-instrumentalist. I know you primarily as a bass player, but I know you also play some guitar and you sing, which is cool too. I know that you had to go run out and rescue your guitar from the car where it had been out in the cold for a little bit. I should mention for folks who are watching, we had a little trouble with getting the guitar to sound as good as we wanted to in the sound check. So, but I totally trust your judgment, Leon. What do you what music are you feeling right now that you want to share with folks?
Oh, now you put me on the spot.
Well, yes, that is part of how the show works.
Well, I'm thinking like a cappella Christmas music.
Okay.
Something like that.
Sure.
Kind of like, in case folks don't know, I grew up in Deep South, church choirs, school choirs, so on and so forth. Got to between my junior year and senior year in high school, I got to participate in this thing sponsored by Southern University.
Okay.
Where they got choir members from schools all over New Orleans together to sing Messiah.
Handel, right?
I get into things like that, but right at the moment, I'm thinking more along the lines of like Der Bingle.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
Nope. It sounds German. That's all that I know.
Oh, Bing Crosby.
Okay.
So,
go
something
for it, man.
like, I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know, where the treetops glisten and children listen to hear sleigh bells in the snow. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas, with every Christmas card I write. May your days be merry and bright, and may all your Christmases be white.
That was just lovely. That was really nice. Thank you, Leon.
Well, thank you.
All right, I'm going to set my drink down for just a minute because I need to futz with the computer for just a moment. I think, Janene, if Janene is just about ready to go, I am going to attempt to switch this over, and people are going to see both Janene and Leon for a moment, and then we're going to see just Janene. And if, yes, and she's already unmuted herself, which is excellent. Hey, Janene!
How do you like that, little Burr Lives?
Yes.
Yeah. How are you?
How's it going, Janene?
Good.
Glad to hear it. So yeah, and I'm trying to think. I think you and I probably first ran into each other at the Porter's Pub open mic, possibly.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. So and actually, and you were starting to mention this earlier when we were talking about where you and Leon might have run into each other. Some of the different ensembles and so the choral group that you're part of. Tell people about the groups that you're actually. So is it just those two groups at this point? The EJ and JO, if I have it right.
EJ and Joe, yeah, that's
Okay.
me and Erin. Of course, we really haven't done anything out, and
Sure.
she's teaching, which has been a real challenge. It's just been a real challenge for a lot of teachers. And
Sure.
she had her own school, which she had to downsize, and so she's been doing that. And I was going to play with Ashley Goodshaw more right at the pandemic. Like we had a gig in Public House or whatever it is, Taylor Brew House, Taylor Public House.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was like a women in industry show, which we were really looking forward to.
Yeah.
Of course, we couldn't do that. So I played with Ashley, who's in Ash and Snow.
Okay, yes, that's where I know the name from. Got it. Yes.
And they've been doing gigs. Personally, I'm not comfortable with doing gigs out. So I don't.
Sure.
I did live streaming here, but yeah, the Lehigh Valley Chorale. Obviously, we can't sing, and for those people that don't,
not in an enclosed space, no.
Yeah, it's I'm in the College Hill Presbyterian Church choir as well, with some amazing musicians, and that's the place where I've been doing most of recording. I've been recording with the chamber choir, which is really just a smaller subgroup of the choir itself.
Right.
My mom joined the choir, so it's fun. She had moved up here.
That's great. That's very cool.
For last, so not this past March, the March before. And so she joined as well. And so when we have to do these recordings, it's really nice that she doesn't have to be on her own to do that. But so we've been recording a full choir, whoever really is brave enough. And most of the choir is brave enough, and they are not professional. So it's pretty amazing. And Jean Ann Schaeferman is our choir director. She's also in the Bach choir, and she is working in music publishing for many, many years. So it's been that's another challenge she's had for, streaming these services is that the rights, a lot of people just don't care, and they'll stream whatever songs without really, I think, actually securing the rights. Whereas she was in music publishing for years. So she's got limited sources for that, but we do a really great job with that, I think. And so we've been lately, we just did Joy to the World, which will be on Christmas Eve, and a silent night. And then another piece called Prepare the Way that's coming up. And Ellis Williams, who is an incredible, just Renaissance man. I mean, the guy not only is a great musician and composer, but he flies an airplane. I mean, the guy but he's been doing all of our tech stuff as well because he joined my church. Yeah, so
not while he's flying the airplane, although that would be something.
Maybe knowing him, but but
he's thought about it probably.
Yeah, so that's basically. So it's good. I miss, I guess, playing out, but I've been writing and playing piano, which is Jay has been playing a lot. That's Jay, my boyfriend, but he plays all the time, basically all day. So we've got a keyboard to the right of me here that he plays the Casio. We've got our studio downstairs, but he's got the keyboard here. So he is literally like the new Paul Schaefer. out there in YouTube land that needs somebody for a late night show or even a primetime show, this guy do everything in between, noodle around, but he's been playing a lot, everything from kind of a lot of the stuff that you guys were talking about before, blues. He taught me some blues scales and riffs and some things. And, basically he's been teaching me, even though I took lessons as a kid and I had piano course in college because I was a music major, but I just wasn't getting it together. I never was able to have that kind of coordination. And then now I'm doing it. I'm playing. So I'm excited about that.
And tell me too, also, because I know that's one of the things that I'm like, I've for a long time been like, piano would be cool. I should, maybe someday begin to figure that out. And there's something about the process for when you're playing guitar. You're training your hands to do two totally different things simultaneously, and it takes that's sort of a mind-bending thing, at least for the first couple of months or maybe even years to how to make the two hands do something totally separate. Yeah. So you're starting over again with piano. Essentially, you've got it now, two hands to do something, but now we've got two hands that have to do something very similar, but not quite the same simultaneously. How is that breaking your brain? How are you making that work?
I feel like rhythmically, I'm natural. Like when you do stuff like, for example, if I'm playing something like this, which I was gonna, say like, I don't know if you can hear. Let me turn it up.
Yeah.
That kind of thing is, there's a steady.
Okay.
So I don't have to think too much about, like, it's pretty much on the beat. Jay he does this Vince Guaraldi stuff. The Peanuts, the Linus and Lucy.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not going to say hard. Actually, he's helped me with that too. It's challenging.
Yes.
It's not hard. It's tricky. It's tricky.
It is.
Not hard.
And it's also, it goes faster than you think it does.
Yeah,
try to keep up with it. Yeah.
That's one where it's like, okay, your hands are just not doing at all the same thing.
Yeah.
So what he also taught me is slow. I've never learned like this before.
Okay.
It's amazing because I'll sit here. Before you know it, 2 hours is up, but I'll sit here and, I don't know, you've never been here, but we overlook the entire valley. So I'm looking out right now, but we're up in College Hill. So I can, it's beautiful. And, so I'll be sitting here and it's just heaven. And I'll play things as slow as I need to play them until I get them up to speed. Godfrey's, we were going to do the Joni Mitchell show.
Right.
Well, so I can sing the shit out of any Joni Mitchell, like whatever. But accompany myself on guitar is difficult because she does such weird things, right?
Right.
Which I learned, So Werner Summer, who I've been watching online. Hi, Werner, if you're there. He was really excited about it. I was so glad he was going to be on board for that, but he was not. And then I got Jay to play like River and a couple of other pieces. And a friend of mine said she was going to sing He Played Real Good for free. So I'm like, well, if that's the one you want to do, we have a couple months at that point. It was like December of last year. I said, we'll see what we could do. Well, turns out I've learned this piece and I'm playing and singing it now. So, and I never thought that I'd be able, it's a, wrong sound. Hold on, I'll play it for you. There we go. So it's whoops. Sorry. And it's amazing that I can, and Slept last night at a good hotel. Never, never thought that I, you know.
That is, yeah, that is pretty cool. I would love to be at that point with piano, where I could just like, oh yeah, sure, this is the thing that I have under my fingers right now. So that is very cool. Well, and you mentioned that some of your educational background is in terms of music. How did you end up where you are in what you're doing with music? And actually, I also want to spend some time talking about part of. You have some great stories from driving other musicians around, which I want to get to in a little bit. But yeah, how did you end up to where you are musically, based on how you were trained and the things you're interested in as you were getting things together?
You know, my brother and I have natural musical talent. My father does not, but my mother does. My mother's side of the family is very talented. And my mother was in barbershop chorus. She was in the Sweet Adelines since I was a child. Actually, her mother and her grandmother were both in Sweet Adelines, and her Aunt Rita, her aunt, my grandmother's sister. So they were all in Sweet Adelines. But you know, they have families, and my grandmother is not really. She wasn't really dedicated to it. I mean, she doesn't have a lot of aspirations. She didn't have aspirations to do it. My mother joined, and then she ended up getting chosen for quartets. So anyway, she was in this amazing chapter on Long Island, where I'm from. They ended up coming in first place in 1978 in the national championship. So I
That's cool.
found that kind of harmony. They had a director, his name was George Avner, and he used to arrange pieces like Something in the Way She Moved. And they, you know, they'll have the four women's voices in this particular chorus is like 100 women strong, 85 women strong. And it's unbelievable, because when voices tune that well, and you know, thinking back to it and listening back to some of the recordings, the vibrations, you know, from the voices being so in tune, which is why I think I gravitate towards Renaissance music so much, is that purity of the vibrations of the voices when they're perfectly in tune. And these barbershop harmonies were so crunchy and so close and so amazing. So I learned that way. My brother and I both took piano lessons very early, and that was the first thing we did, and learned, you know, The Entertainer and stuff like that. And then he was really into playing Beatles songs, Lady Madonna and all that. And he took on violin, and I took flute. So I was a flutist, still am, but I took flute for many, many years, private lessons. And then went to music school. I have a BA in vocal performance, and I was a mezzo soprano at my school. And I sang in choir so I was in a folk group, and that's where my love of folk comes from, was since I was 6 years old. So I love Simon and Garfunkel, like gods, of all of that. And I was to a lot of Chicago.
Talk about vocal harmonies and the way that comes together like that. Yeah, that makes sense too.
Yeah, so it was just one of those things where I was always around it. And my school, even in grade school, grades 1 through 6, it was actually kind of competitive. And on Long Island, they have something called NYSSMA, which is for New York State School Music Association.
Okay.
They do with NYSSMA is there's a big manual. So all these kids in different grades end up advancing to different levels of music. So within each level and every instrument and vocal part, there are levels. So you can play a level 1 to a level 6. By the time you're in 10th grade, if you're a level 6, you're good to go. But it's challenging. Yeah. It's being judged. I think it's difficult for some people. It was a little for me because, you get hard on yourself. And then I had competition at school, and, so it made it, I think, less free. I'm not going to say less fun. I always had fun, but I think I didn't feel that freedom, really confined. And I had flute lessons, and I had a really good teacher, and so it was just challenging and competitive. But once I think I went to college, I came into my own, and I had a lot of encouragement from my professors there. That was a kind of bloomed like a flower a little bit, and And then I, just started doing bands. I mean, I joined different vocal groups and bands, and just been rocking out ever since, really. But mostly, I do a lot of classical music. I'm so happy to have church jobs, because those jobs for me, they're priceless. And then I was in a symphonic chorus in Manhattan called the Dessoff Choirs.
Okay.
And that is an amazing avocational choir, but the quality, it was started 95 years ago. A woman named Marguerite Dessoff came from, I believe, from Germany. Anyway, she started this. It was a women's chorus at the time, I believe. Anyway, they started this chorus, I think it was a women's chorus. But anyway, and that group, we got asked to do quite a few major gigs, like Lauren Mazel's last Philharmonic gigs at the New York Phil. We were one of the choirs in Benjamin Britten's War Requiem. Okay. And we did, also with Vladimir Ashkenazy, we did the Bells by Rachmaninoff, which is a really interesting piece because, as you know, like Rachmaninoff doesn't write a lot of choral pieces, So that was amazing because we had diction coaches, and so I got to work with Vladimir Ashkenazy, and
wow, yeah,
we got to sing with Ray Davies of the Kinks. We had a chamber group, and they needed a group, and long story short, through somebody, a mutual acquaintance with the from England, we sang it on David Letterman, and we sang the Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers at Radio City. I mean,
wow, so that's very cool.
Yeah, I ain't rich, but I'm not monetarily.
But in experiences like that, that's very cool.
Yeah. So that's the story. And then I moved here after being, kind of in the rat race of trying to sustain, and then I got that job as a driver. Well, really, I'm the executive assistant there, but driving the rock bands, doing photography, and I did a lot of rock photography that's it. Music.
Talk about, Renaissance people. I mean, that's very cool. And I'm particularly fascinated, but you say that so much of your experience in music, in any kind of music, is related to, being with people. And you talk about harmonies, and you talk about sort of making those connections, or you're with the chorus, or you're with the group, or you're with the church group. And now, for these past 9 months or whatever, the ability to do that safely has been dramatically curtailed. I think it's safe to say. And so then that you've found a way to use that as an opportunity. So first off, I bet how much of a loss that is and how you're experiencing that, but then also how you've taken that as an opportunity to start doing more writing when you've been exposed and working and performing and singing all this amazing music for so long. And now some of it is starting to it seems like you're starting to experience some of the music in a different way, which is really, really cool.
I am very grateful. I'm blessed every day. And I have a grand endeavor of writing a musical, which I've been doing for a long time, but I've basically got the story. I've got a lot of the motifs. I got a lot of the melodies. We have the studio downstairs. So my next step is to just really, and not so well, the recording's important, but what's more important is to get the book ready, to have the songs set into the play, and then be able to shop it around or do workshops and things. So that's the other thing that I really need to push to do, because it's in me. I feel like, just like the piano, if I sit and dedicate the time to it and do it, I will do it. If I don't, and I flounder around and I sit here watching Price is Right, which I do, I won't, and right. So that's the biggest challenge, is like, let's play ping pong. I mean, it's good to be active, but
it's finding that balance. It's it's life is trying to find that balance of all the different parts of it. But and also to, that fire, hanging on, nurturing that and making sure that you're feeding that too. Yeah, very cool. Well, I would love to hear a piece of music from you, whatever you are inspired to play in this moment.
Well, I'll go ahead and do that one that I was playing a little bit ago. It's called 1,000 Clowns.
All right.
The interesting story on this one is there's a movie with Jason Robards, which is based on a play called 1,000 Clowns.
Okay.
about a man who takes care of his nephew and doesn't send him to school, basically homeschools. He gets life experiences, but they live in New York City. And so at the beginning of the film, and it's a really artful, wonderful black and white film, there's a verse of this song. And Jay said to me, you should learn that. And I said, learn what? Like, there's nothing to it. So I actually researched online and found that this cute musician, this woman who used to sing on a lot of variety shows, Judy Holliday, she wrote it, and a woman named Rita Gardner sang it. I didn't find a whole recording of it. I found the lyrics. So I just repeated the melody and put a piano part to it. So
cool.
Here it is, Thousand Clowns. A thousand clowns I'll bring you if I can make you laugh. A blue baboon and a red raccoon and a lavender giraffe. 1,000 stars I'll string you to weave into a crown, and rainbows and my loving friends and sparkling silver streams. 1,000 songs I'll sing you to help you with your dreams of rainbows and loving friends and sparkling silver streams. 1,000 years I'll love you, our love will never die. And when 1,000 years from now they're looking at the sky, they'll see two stars together as close as they could be. One star will be you, my love, the other will be me.
That is really nice.
Thanks.
That is really nice. Very cool. So let me put it up on all three of us again here for a minute. And I'll say this, and if Leanne, if you could unmute yourself. One of the things that I think is all of us musicians and all of us who so much of a part of our community is, connecting with other people through music, and either audience to performer or, musicians doing things together. How have you been weathering this? And some of it is turning inward, and some of it is being creative and finding other ways to connect with people, and some of it is driving a little farther. How is that? Leon? How have these past 9 months or so been for you?
Boring.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's given me a little time to, I'm not going to say I really work on technique, but you get to sit around and play a little more and kind of go like, oh,
yeah,
if I do that,
right,
then this happens. Oh, cool.
That sounds pretty cool.
So you get to do that. But I haven't, how can I put this? It has not affected me as much as a lot of other people have been affected.
Sure.
Because in part, the crowds that I hang with are a little more liberal in their outlook.
Uh-huh.
So we've actually been getting together with people off and on throughout this whole thing. But kind of distancing and whatnot, but still getting out and playing with people. So
yeah, well, I mean,
kept me sane.
What's that? Oh yeah, it
If I
kept you sane. Yeah, that makes
start with.
sense. That makes sense. You know, and and especially it's been so great to see so many you know, performers have been doing things. You know, restaurants have opened up things on the sidewalk and outside, and you know, all these other, you know, sort of outdoor venues have popped up so people can be doing music. We had a couple weeks ago we were talking with Ralph Pagano, who is lining up a whole bunch of musicians to be playing with for historic Bethlehem outdoors in the or you know, potentially, you know, the space there with the historic Bethlehem, the colonial industrial quarter. And things like that. But yeah, it's a challenge. And so Janene, how's that? You know, how, guess, you know, you're used to, you know, performing in duos. You're used to having all these music groups. You still have uh, the one church choir that is still continuing. How have you been handling that?
Well, I mean, the church choir, unfortunately, you know, of course, we're not together in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I like Leon. I mean, I am very liberal in my views. I feel like, you know, I did get out a couple of times. I would get together with the Women of Strength, which is a group here in Easton that used to meet at the market on Saturdays. And we would always meet at either Hackett Park or Muser Park here in Easton and sit in circles with our chairs. And
Yeah.
also, when I did the Lights for Liberty last year, just some refugee things that I meet up, like shutting down Burke's, you know, a lot of Zoom things.
Yeah,
I'm
sure.
very on Zoom. I'm involved with those things, immigration policy, basically Black Lives Matter movement, things like that. And we do keep up quite a bit on these current events, because not that we are necessarily so political, because there's so much politicization of things today. But I think,
Yeah.
you know, we just like to, we're humans of the globe. Like I think that because I've traveled to different nations, you know, that might be one of the reasons why I have a different kind of respect. But I feel like, you know, it's been a difficult time. My mother's an activist. She was an activist when I was a kid. So I got that in me, you know, and so she and I did go out, you know, with our masks, and we did go to the Black Lives Matter March in Easton. Sure. I went out to Bethlehem once, but we always mask. I have a filter in my mask. And in terms of playing, I'm not comfortable in that thing with coming. If it's outdoors, I probably would be a little bit more comfortable, but I honestly have not had the desire to do that. I know, like you were saying before, I'm really moving more towards like working on things here, house, but to really kind of answer your question is that I miss people. I miss singing with people. Especially, you know, the choir, Lehigh Valley Chorale. You know, we were meeting on Zoom for a while on Tuesday nights during our allotted time. Our director actually got a cancer diagnosis right at the beginning of the pandemic. Wow. So it's, in a way, it's almost like he can convalesce and get better.
Oh, yes. Okay, that part of
right, you know, but it's been, you know, that's something else for everybody that's in the choir. You know, we meet together, and you know, we just can't. But we do sometimes still meet. There is a Zoom room open, but I think a lot of us have kind of. I mean, I've fallen off on Tuesdays, you know, and not really. But yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, I still see Esme Montgomery, as you know, and you know, we really don't do music much. You know, I wanted to try to get together with her, and maybe now that I'm playing piano, maybe do some of that. And like I said, cool. Aaron. Yeah. So, you know, that's it though. I got my teacher, I got Jay, and he's always playing, and it's such a thrill really to hear him crack these codes, like these Steely Dan type, you know, and even like some of the old Jelly Roll Morton, like just really cool stuff. And it's just going constantly. Our dog also got sick during the summer. Well, she got attacked. We got attacked by another dog. So that was also just polarizing for me, for us. Sure. She's okay. She's fine now. Good. But yeah. So anyway, it's been hard to say piece, in many respects. But at the same time, I'm privileged and I know it. So I have to keep that in mind.
I think we're all doing what we can. Well, and I think overall, and I think I've said this before on the show, one of the things that I am so impressed by is so many creative people have looked at the circumstances and have said, okay, well, these are the limitations we're living with right now. What can we do? Are there things that we can do virtually? Are there ways we can connect like that? Are there things we can do outdoors? Are there, can I stay at home and learn how to play piano? What are other things we can do with the circumstances we have? And a lot of people have been doing some pretty amazing things with them. So on that note, thank you so much to both of you, Janene and Leon, for hanging out with me here this evening at the Cyber Speakeasy. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
And here to everyone who has been watching us live online, and the folks who might be watching the replay of this show. We're always grateful for you, so thanks so much. Thanks for hitting that like button, that subscribe button here on Rock in the Valley. So, indeed. So I'm going to put it back on me. We are just about to the turn of the hour, so I will let you go on to your next cool thing. But please continue to check out things here on Rock in the Valley. You can go to the Rock in the Valley website, listings on Facebook and other things like that. Hit that subscribe button. Subscribe to Rock in the Valley here on YouTube and find out all the cool shows that are happening here all the time. I will be back here right in this same chilly attic stairwell here in my house one more time before the holidays. I'll be back here next Thursday at 7 o'clock, so please stop by for that. Until then, my name is Mike. I'm Not For Coltrane. Thank you so much for stopping by the Rock in the Valley's Cyber Speakeasy, your source for music, conversations, and cocktails. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and I will see you next time.